Have you ever watched something that completely rewired your brain chemistry?
A procedural network drama might not be your usual pick, but it's ours.
This is The Buddy System, a 911 deep dive podcast hosted by three friends who have DM'd each other enough character dissertations to earn a PhD in media literacy.
I'm Han, coming to you straight from the characters' heads.
I'm Cell, bringing you to the observation deck.
And I'm Rachel, connecting the dots with my red string.
With our powers combined,
No stone is left unturned.
And no buddy is left behind.
This episode is sponsored by Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal. Welcome to Dispatch. What's on call this week?
this week we're discussing the very uplifting Fight or Flight, Season 2, Episode 13, written by Kristen Rydell, directed by Millicent Shelton, and it originally aired on Monday, April 1st, 2019.
This is a really mean episode to air on April Fools. But they can't control that.
Yeah. I mean, they can, but...
Anyway.
What are the calls of the week, Rachel?
There is one call. We only had one call of the week. I called it, "Look, I've been impaled." I got my Frozen reference in.
You did. So happy for you.
Buck calls 911 upon finding Chimney wounded and in critical condition outside of Maddie's apartment. So this was the only call of the week because the greater emergency affected everybody, kind of in the classic 911 like opening emergency fashion. So we saw that like literally all of the 118, everybody got kind of roped into all of this because it affects all of them so greatly. But yes, I would say that is the only call, but that is not the only emergency. So the main emergency being, of course, Maddie being abducted. I kept going in between like kidnapped, abducted. God.
Understand, if we say kidnap, we know that she is not a child.
Adult napped.
But we hate the word abduction to pronounce out loud.
It's hard.
It is hard. Don't like it.
Words are hard. So the main emergency is Maddie has been abducted by Doug, and everybody is on the case or trying to make sure Chimney pulls through. So yeah, like Han said, this is a very happy, fun time. It is not.
I don't think we've had one happy fun time episode
In a while?
since November.
Well, my one comment is stab him with your knife. He's literally just a guy. Or stab him with a fire poke.
And she did.
He's literally just a guy.
It's literally like the worst guy.
The worst guy.
The worst
Guy.
It's from Parks and Rec.
Oh, no. No, I didn't get that reference. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It was a lovely addition.
What are my thoughts on this episode? I mean, it's a really good episode. There's so much happening in it.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Like Hannah and I, we watched this the other night and trying to take notes, and I was like, it's going too fast. Like, oh my God. There's just like, it's going boom, boom, boom. Just like, there's so
The
much
hits keep
happening.
coming, literally.
I took one note and I said, no, I can't do it. I couldn't pause.
I didn't take any notes.
Yeah, I took one bullet point.
TJ was like, how did your note taking go? And I was like, great in my head.
I don't know how you guys remember stuff. Well, Han specifically, because she doesn't take notes. I don't take notes either, but I forget shit. So I'm just like, I know you guys got me, and
I have all the notes.
And Rachel has all the notes.
This is my like one superpower because my memory is actually the worst, except for like the shit that I hyper focus on media wise. And then my brain is like, we will retain all of this for all time, always.
But anyway, this is very, actually, I don't know if I can say this is very Taken-esque.
I mean, yeah.
It is. I mean, it's the same. It's still kind of one of those like heart pumping, some suspense in there,
Yes.
thrown in, thriller type of Another Michael Jackson reference for all of you. I mean, edge of my seat. There's so many ways to describe it, but fun, but like in a bad way.
Fun for the whole family.
Fun, exciting, but in the bad way. Not the way you want to get fun and excited. Listen.
We listen and we don't judge.
Is this the masochist?
I don't. Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in all of us, because we enjoy
we love
watching
angst.
the shows.
We love
do
angst.
Yeah, that's true. I love angst. I need to be sad.
I have like a love-hate relationship with suspense. So like this was 42 minutes, that's doable. But like when I have to watch a 2-hour suspense movie, like I kind of feel like I need to be taken to urgent care afterwards.
Oh my God.
Wow. I just like because of the physical reactions of my like immune system, I guess.
Well, I mean, when you put all three or like the very, very end of 210 and 211.
211, 212.
Hold on.
What are you talking about?
211.
He gets stabbed at the end of 211.
210.
Oh, do you wanna add the Christmas episode? He doesn't get stabbed in the Christmas episode.
No. Let me explain.
Are you talking about the Doug reveal?
Yes.
Okay. Jesus.
Oh.
I was like, Rachel, I know for a fact he was stabbed in 211.
Sorry, our brains are working overdrive right now.
Underdrive.
Oh, God. we made that. It was not a thing, and now it is.
So what I was trying to say.
Were you? I'm sorry.
This feels like bullying now.
If that's what makes you guys happy, then you know what? It's fine. If you put the Doug reveal at the end of Merry Xmas and the whole Chimney and Doug relationship and everything from 211 and waiting a whole week with Chimney Begins and then this episode, it is a very long, like suspenseful sort of thing. That was not worth all of that, okay?
But it's more like
all of that.
That's more like TV edging than like watching a suspense film to me.
Yes. But for us, when we were like binge watching it all together, it was like a lot more condensed, as opposed to like a week by week sort of thing, which is more, I think, like digestible. Obviously, we didn't do that for this right now, but like when we were originally watching everything and it was like boom, 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 boom. It's like, oh my God, putting through the ringer.
What were you like again?
Oh my God.
No, that's not the same energy.
Oh my God.
There it is. Anyway, this is a very good episode. I really like the Athena Buck team up. We don't get enough Athena Buck.
Yes.
They're such a good duo.
I actually really loved it. Well, not actually. It's not a surprise, but I loved that it kind of mirrored the ride along that Athena had with Maddie. So she's in it with the Buckley siblings and just that's great.
Do we get any? I don't think we get any more like Buck Athena team ups, do we? After? Oh, wait, no, when they take over Dispatch. Kind of, sort of.
I think we get like moments, but we don't really get like a storyline.
But like it's such
I want another one.
It's such
a good
dynamic
dynamic
between the two of them, because we saw it in like the very end of the pilot episode, when Buck had Athena's back with the home intruder.
I'm trying not to get us off topic. If anyone knows any fics where like they're detective partners, please send that our way, because I think that'd be really interesting.
Wait, that's so fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah, more Buck and Athena team up, because they're such great characters and they parallel, just like we talk about like Eddie and Bobby paralleling each other a lot. Athena and Buck parallel each other. So that would be really interesting to like team them up. And I also feel like we just don't get to appreciate like Angela Bassett and Oliver Stark like sharing the screen together as much.
Enough.
And like,
yeah,
I feel deprived. And we should have some more of that.
We should.
But yeah, this is a fantastic episode. I think it was a very well done and delicately handled conclusion to the Maddie and Doug arc as well.
I think we should do a deep dive.
Did you say go into deep dive?
Yes, please.
Was that my cue? Okay.
We're gonna need the jaws of life over here.
So there were a couple articles, a couple interviews with Jennifer Love Hewitt about this episode, as there usually are with the actors that have like the A plot. There's one from The Wrap, but I thought this was really interesting because, you know, Jennifer Love Hewitt was in I Know What You Did Last Summer. The interviewer said the horror movie feel, which I was like, yes, Tim Minear horror fan number one, obviously. So the horror movie feel was not lost on Jennifer Love Hewitt as a former screen queen. And she noted that there were definitely some moments where it was like, wow, I've not handled this part of myself since I was like 18 in I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was really fun. And she definitely made at least 2 jokes about carrying that fireplace poker while running through the snow and how it was like her fisherman's hook. So I guess like it's from 1997, but spoilers for I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh my God.
I mean, because in I Know What You Did Last Summer, Jennifer Love Hewitt played Julie James. It's a horror movie about a group of teens who are hunted down by what appears to be a fisherman that they killed last summer, and his weapon of choice was a hook. And I thought that was really kind of timely as well, because we just got confirmation that Jennifer Love Hewitt is going to be going back to the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise with the reboot, and she will be reprising her role as Julie James. So that's kind of fun. Just another one of those things that's like where we are in our rewatch is like so perfect for what's happening in current stuff.
So timely.
Very, very weird. So I thought that was kind of funny. And Jennifer Love Hewitt also said that the episode itself was about how Maddie saved Maddie because no one else could. And then I know in previous episodes, we've talked about how the actor who played Doug is her real life husband, Brian Halasay. And she spoke about how they were able to trust each other and just be as ugly and tortured and raw and emotionally heightened and aggressive as possible on camera because there's so much love off camera. So speaking about how like that trust made it so much easier to portray these like really intensive scenes because there's inherent trust. And then when asked about what it's going to look like for Maddie and Chimney going forward, she said that the episode ends exactly the way it should, with 2 people who are emotionally exhausted, very injured, and very hopeful that the worst is behind them. But since it's 911 and because it's life, and something very important to Tim Minear in terms of storytelling is that it won't be easy. Love that just reminder. It's like, oh yes, hopeful, but not easy. The next article was from TV Insider. It kind of talked about some similar things. Jennifer Love Hewitt's experience while filming this episode, because kind of like the Begins episodes that we've seen, she is really headlining the majority of the scenes throughout this episode. So she would have had to be, on set for so much of it. The interviewer had an interesting question that I thought you guys might like to hear. The interviewer said that one facet of this episode that was impactful is the lengths that Buck goes to find his sister and Maddie's reaction when he finds her. How did the both of you prepare for that moment? Like, did they discuss the scene beforehand, when Buck finds Maddie in the woods? And Jennifer Love Hewitt said that it was one of the last scenes that they filmed on the mountain, and she hadn't seen Oliver in a little bit, probably due to filming because they were, on location for quite a while. And she said that scene with Maddie and Buck, so she was really happy to see Oliver in that moment, happy to let go of everything that she'd been holding all day with the fight and the anger and the fear. and she felt as much relief in that moment that the day was over and got to kind of like release it. So it seemed like that was as much cathartic for Maddie and Buck as it kind of was for Jennifer Love Hewitt, which is kind of great. So that's kind of what I have for articles that I found. Like always, we'll have them linked. I've connected the dots.
You didn't connect shit.
So just kind of moving right into my red string corner. I've connected the dots.
You didn't connect shit.
I didn't have too much on this, but I did want to point out that the detective who is officially on the case for Maddie, that's Detective Marks, and we first met him in episode 7 of season 1. So that would be, I think, the creepy full moon creepy AF.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the detective that
questioned Abby.
Yes. So Abby's home break-in turned homicide, where it was like the older Nora thought that she saw someone outside of the house, but it turned out that he was inside of the house, and all of that stuff that ensued. But I just thought that was interesting to bring Detective Marks back. I mean, I guess he's the only technically homicide detective that we know of the 911 universe as of yet. But I thought it was interesting because that specific case was another domestic abuse case.
Mm-hmm.
And we already know, like we spoke a lot about in that episode, how he was just kind of like very dismissive of Abby's instincts, hunches, because we've been talking a lot about like gut instincts in these last couple episodes of season 2. And he was kind of like mansplaining to Abby and everything like that. So I think that was kind of a smart inclusion to use this character, even though it's kind of like you have to really rack your brain about it to go back like a whole season ago, because we already have like a kind of distrust or distaste for the way that he operates. Right? Because he was like, nah.
Yeah, he sucks.
He's not super great at his job.
He could be, just not when it comes to helping women.
Yes. So I think that was an interesting way to plop him back into the plot here in a way that like, okay, well, we already know he's not going to do much. So everybody else is. So Maddie's kind of on her own, and it's up to Athena, and that kind of stuff. So an interesting kind of like shorthand into, well, he's not going to do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they had Athena and Buck unofficially on the case. They were doing all of the work. They solved the case.
He would have done nothing. He was just writing it off. I can't fucking stand that guy.
Yeah, because he was all like, we need to prepare him for like the worst. And
they were like, literally at the scene, yet. Like right when they got there, like, oh, well, these things don't end well. We need to prepare him. I was like, or you could do your job. Possibly. Just a thought.
It's like good to maintain expectations, but also like it's good to do.
He just seems like he just like didn't want to try. Like he's just like, oh, these things normally don't end well. And I don't know if it's like, I don't know. I try and not go to like real world with these things to a certain extent, but I was like, I don't know. Is there like a certain, like, does he have a rate of like solved cases that he's like, well, this obviously isn't going to help me with that. So he doesn't care.
I have no idea. I don't think we are privy enough to like his inner world to know, nor do we care.
No, just wish he would do his job, but whatever.
Basically, the takeaway, Athena is like the best detective. She should really
Even
be
though
a
she's
detective.
not a detective.
She should be a detective.
But then
she
wouldn't be able to just like they wouldn't be able to make her just run around and do whatever. Especially like at all the 118 scenes.
She's
like
basically a detective, and they let her like
she is whenever she wants to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's also like buddy with Captain Elaine. So So it's like, and you know what? She does a good job. So keep doing it. Flashover. kind of on that note, to work our way into themes, this idea of, kind of not trusting Detective Marks. And we see a lot of kind of loopholes of procedure. And I think that's kind of one of the themes of the episode. It's like when the system's hands are tied, you can only do so much through like official means. Right. Yeah. And that's not to say that any of like going around the system and like finding, the exceptions are right. But in this episode, it is more efficient and more successful. So it's like that faith in certain systems or lack of faith in certain systems and having to take things into your own hands when official channels can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily saying it's right, just saying sometimes it does have faster outcomes. I feel like all of these themes, I noticed a bunch of them, and they have been so tied, I think, to previous episodes in like the very beginning of season 2. I think there was a lot that I noticed coming from episode 2, 7.1 with the earthquake and help is not coming. So survival mode is obviously for an episode titled Fight or Flight. Survival mode is really big. We also did see this in 202. Like 202, 203 is what really set up a lot for this kind of arc mid-season. So we saw a lot of like when the crisis is your crisis, as opposed to the responders and dispatchers helping out. It's like, oh, what do you do when it's your crisis? And kind of, again, with survival mode, the idea of help is not coming, how when you can't rely on, again, these systems that are in place to help, then you have to go into survival mode and kind of help yourself. And then we saw a lot of this idea of hope and not giving up, which I think was really introduced in 207 Haunted. That was one of the episode themes, but we also had that conversation with Maddie and Buck about hope. In that context, it was Buck kind of losing hope about Abby coming back, sort of thing. But and Maddie was the one to say, like, you can't lose hope. So this coming kind of like full circle. And in that same vein, we also saw in 203, which is help is not coming, these kind of belief systems to get you through. That was when I think we were talking about it in the context of Buck and Eddie and Allie, how like Buck was being more optimistic, Eddie was being more like realistic, and Allie was kind of like, I forget exactly where we landed, like not necessarily pessimistic, but like utilizing a lot of sarcasm. So like those kind of belief systems to get you through in these kind of fight or flight moments. And we have, like Athena and Bobby being like realistic. I think we have Eddie being a little more optimistic for Buck, and Buck just kind of like, I don't know what to think right now. So he kind of like lost that little bit of hope. And we see like Maddie, I think through the course of the episode, Maddie has hope, loses it, then has it again. So it's this kind of like hero's journey of hope for her as well. And then we also see, similarly to, again, 202, family and emergency situations. So when the crisis is your crisis, when it's the first responders crisis in the crisis, how many times can I say crisis? My God. These support systems that you have with your family, how your family reacts, how they can't like compartmentalize anymore when their family members or team members or anything like that are in trouble or in peril. So it's kind of like an outside point of view for the families who's having the look at the responding. That was, I think, in terms of like Michael and Harry and May helping out with while Athena was in the trenches, essentially, under that highway collapse. So, and we see a lot of that kind of come back into the fold because we have everybody gathered around the waiting room in the hospital for Chimney and everything like that. So it's like the support system. But Too Long Don't Read. It's a lot of, I think, the very early season themes that we were bringing up with the earthquake stuff, which was the season's other like main emergency, really getting like hammered home. That's how you say that. In a slightly different light as well. But it's interesting to have it kind of come back to all of that. It was just like every single theme. I was just like, we've seen this before. We've seen this before. Like very boldly. No, that doesn't make sense. But
Star Trek. Boldly go where no man has gone before.
But we have been here before. Because I wrote all of those themes in those other episodes. So
Think you've seen this film before?
It really seemed connected, that there was a lot of connective tissue in the themes there. And I was trying to think of some other themes that were not connected to the very beginning of season 2. And I couldn't.
I mean, it's very fight or flight, so.
Yeah.
Who's cooking? Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Wait, I might be so wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think this is our first opening emergency for a main cast member.
I'm trying to think if Chimney and the Rebar was at the end of episode 2 and we open with 3, or if it... No.
That was like in the middle of an episode.
Middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And Buck choking on bread is...
In the middle.
In the middle. It's also not like the format either. Where you hear them on a call before you like see what's happening.
Huh.
Anyway, I think
you're right.
So if you're listening and I'm wrong, please let me know. But I just kind of thought that was interesting. And then that they had that be not so interesting that it's for Maddie, but like interesting that Buck was the one making the call for it. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
For a minute, I was really confused. I was like, how did he know? And then I forgot that at that point he was living with Maddie.
Me too. Yeah, I forgot too.
So
I was like, how do you know to be there?
Like, are you just like tailing them on their date? What are you doing?
But then he was like, and I just came home, and I was like, oh, right. He hasn't moved out yet.
But yeah, anyway, so Buck not having a great night.
No, rather an awful night.
He finds his friend bleeding out. And Maddie's missing, and he is a panicked gazelle, and
he really is. I did kind of really appreciate how he was so like locked in on helping Chimney. And he was just in like responder mode, right? And until Chimney is able to like speak up and says, like, where's Maddie? Like, where's Maddie? And then you see the flip switch in like on his face, in his eyes and everything. And it's just like tunnel vision Maddie.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have done that if the responders weren't actually there for him to hand it off.
No, he would have waited until Chimney had other help.
Handing off from last episode. But yes, so then he's given like the opportunity to just like, Maddie, full
panic, looking for her.
No, he's like a scared little boy. It's really sad.
I think you start to see like him connecting the dots
really quickly.
Yes, because he kind of nails it when he's talking to Detective Marks, and he's like, well, it's because of this and da-da-da. So obviously it was Doug was Chimney's new friend that I never met, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, yeah, that's actually exactly what happened.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
The only one with the brain cell aside from Athena?
Well, yes, but that is that pattern recognition. ADHD.
Yeah. Maybe Detective Marks needs
good in a
some
crisis.
Excellent. Yeah. Yes, excellent in a crisis, like we saw in the last episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Like there's fight, flight, and then there's whatever him and Athena do.
Yeah.
Which is, like connecting all the dots while in a panicked situation, when it's personal like this, being able to still like not only hold it together, but still be able to like have that higher brain function to do detective work because the detective isn't doing it.
Well, Athena even says that later on when they're at dispatch, that neither she nor Buck are good at sitting around and waiting. It's like, I wonder why.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're so much better being active in like kind of taking it into their own hands sort of thing. Like it just makes them feel useful and helpful, but also that they're trying to get to the bottom of it because they need to.
It's a little different because for Buck, he's like, I don't trust these people to actually do what they need to do because they have to operate under their rules, right? Because like for him, he's like, rules are great until they get in the way of the right thing to do, and then fuck the rules. Because if the rules are supposed to be here to help people, but when those rules start impeding on helping people, then those rules meaningless.
Yeah.
I'm a civilian. These rules don't apply to me.
Like, and I don't have to follow the rules for the police because I'm not one of those. So I'm gonna do what I want. Which again, I know we talk about it a lot, but like we love smart characters, and these characters are so smart. All of them are so smart because you see Buck starting to put together, like, you know, even when Athena and Detective Marks are like, no, we can't use the phone. We have to get like it wasn't a warrant, but like some sort of something to be able to
subpoena.
Thank you. And you can see his wheels turning in his head. He's like, okay, well, if that's not going to work, I'm going to find a way to do it. And I tried to see in that scene when he leaves to change out of his shirt, if we saw it in the background of him just like picking up the phone, and we didn't.
No.
And I kind of wish we did.
I kind of liked that we didn't because like to me, because like Athena shows up and she's like, I told him she was like, the detective said that no one would be that stupid. And I said, you don't know Buck. And I was like, she means reckless because he was very actually smart.
Yeah.
For him to be able to take that when it was crawling with forensic people is impressive.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of wish, I like that we didn't see it, that it was kind of a surprise. It was revealed soon after. So I like that we didn't see it, but I also can't help but imagine like just him, I don't know, dropping his jacket on the floor right there and then like picking it up or something like that. Oh my gosh, which is actually kind of similar to what Maddie does when they're at the gas station and the gas attendant hands the keys and puts it on the counter and she takes it along with the pen that's right next to it. So this is just a Buckley sibling trait. But also like props to Athena because she also recognizes immediately after Buck is just like, yeah, I'd like to go to the hospital and see Chimney right now, please. She's like, wait. She doesn't even have to turn around and look at the evidence stuff on the ground. She's like, where's the phone? Like she clocked him so hard.
She understands.
And it's because
she understands how he works.
Yeah, and it's because they're very similar in that kind of way.
And we've talked about this because I feel like she understands Buck quicker than almost any other character on the show. You know, once she gets over she
sees him
initial hatred. Yeah. But I'm sorry, I just have to say, it's so fucking funny how he's doing his theatrics over Chimney's
in the hospital
unconscious body. He's like, no,
he can't die.
Die. So unsubtle.
He's like the least subtle human being on the face of the planet.
I was gonna say don't let him be an actor, but they did.
but they did.
Oh my god, it's so funny because he knew exactly what to do. He had this whole plan together and he's like, I don't really care about getting caught, but I'm gonna do it anyways. It's interesting also, I guess, if you look at it from the way he's trying to be sneaky is by being very upfront and very obvious about stuff. So that it kind of is like a look over there sort of situation, because so much of his past has been about getting attention. right? So I think he ends up using that tries to use that to his advantage by saying like, okay, if I'm going to have this attention, I'm going to attempt to direct it in a certain way, away from what I'm actually trying to do. I don't think he's really great at it, but like it's an excellent attempt at using his resources that he has available and his like proclivity to like, look at me, you know?
I think you could get good at it if like it was something that he had to do a lot and he practiced, but it's not something that I think comes up a lot.
No, like I don't think he had many opportunities to like do this kind of like bait and switch sort of thing. I think he probably has implemented it in the past with how nomadic he's been. And he's probably had to, but again, like those would have been easier because then he could like get the hell out of Dodge if need be. But those also weren't dealing with necessarily a chain of custody with police about someone so close to him, you know, in both cases, because he works with Chimney and he is Maddie's brother.
So yeah, Athena catches him and he is in, as Eddie calls it, hospital jail, which is just a bench. being told not to move. Yeah. And he's like ready to like be read the riot act again because, you know, he already had to hear it from Athena and I am assuming Bobby when he showed up.
Oh, Dad's not angry. He's just disappointed.
He's just disappointed. Yeah. He's like, what did we just talk about? Because Dad was there with him. He's like, why didn't you listen to me? But Eddie is very much like, I understand why you did it, but like, I don't understand what you thought was gonna happen. And that's when Buck is like, I don't have to follow the rules. I'm not a police officer. I'm not sorry.
No remorse.
Yeah.
It's kind of fair.
But my thing is, Athena was like, Detective Marks can't use any of that for evidence. And I'm like, but he can use it to try and find her, which is like, he can't use it to like convict him of murder, but like he could use it still to help find her. So I'm like, why are we upset about this information?
I don't know enough about like legal chain of custody stuff, but I would imagine it because it's been like tainted evidence. So like
it's tainted evidence and the fact that they can't use it in a court of law.
Yeah.
But it's still evidence to follow a lead.
And I don't know what the rule of thumb is for that stuff either, because like wouldn't you think you should use all resources available to be able to
find a very vulnerable missing person?
And this is where we get into that conversation of, you know, sometimes the systems and procedures, though put in place to give the help needed,
allegedly,
fall kind of short. And sometimes that's also depending on the person who's wielding those procedures a little bit, because we already don't like Marks. But we see with Athena, you know, she's no stranger to kind of like bending the rules in her favor, which she does kind of expertly and is also kind of weird because then she and Buck are unofficially on the case, but they're the one basically leading the case.
Yeah.
Very closely with Marks and everything. So it's just one of those, like, if anyone has a little more like judicial knowledge in that kind of sense, like, feel free to inform me.
I love when she says, I'm just it's not my cases. I'm just a concerned citizen or friend of the victim.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the same thought process and same reasoning that
Buck but she's using the rules to her advantage. That was the finishing of my thought earlier when I was like, they're different because this is how Buck. Thank you for finishing it. 10 minutes later,
we got it.
But they start this little buddy cop journey with Bobby laying down the law.
Again, rules to help.
Rules
to put in place, but like,
which is like, don't do anything fucking stupid. Please don't get my future wife fired. It's very much like a teenage son's first concert,
first outing.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, stay in view of your, don't leave the premise. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like laying down the law of like,
you will be home by 10:30. You will not leave the site of the other people in your party. Da, 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 da.
We're giving you some freedom, but like you have to stay within these grounds because you can't be trusted fully.
Which is
because you're not an adult. That's very much what it was giving.
Which is so interesting too, because bringing this back to some of these early season 2 themes when it's talking about like freedom and independence. I mean, freedom definitely is a thing in this episode, but like I just kept thinking just now of, you know, Eddie giving Chris the independence that he needs, and this is kind of Bobby being like, you can be independent, but I'm also going to like, you know, make sure that you're independent within these parameters.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so dad and son.
It's so dad.
It's so dad. And Athena,
so dad
and
with
Athena's
child.
just like being so mom about it all too. Because it's just like, go with your mother and stay safe.
Listen to your mother.
Listen to your mother. And I feel like at one point, Athena absolutely should have and probably did say something to the effect of like, if you want me to turn this car around. And I feel like that was a missed opportunity that we didn't get to see in the episode. But
well, I think he was, you know,
he was stressed.
And he was stressed. He was not in a rambunctious mood.
No.
So I really love them teaming up and them, you know, doing their like detective work together, annoying that they have to do it, annoying that every time they come up with a tip and talk to Marks about it, he seems like he's being, he's long suffering, like inconvenienced, like so sorry you have to do your job to try and save a woman.
They're literally just following the trail, and the trail isn't that hard to find.
Yeah. Wouldn't have to be helping you if you were
competent.
Good at your job.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I really love that moment in the car when Buck is like, he's tearing up. He is really worried. And he's like, you know, he has the catastrophic thinking really badly.
Yeah.
In moderately any minor change in someone's demeanor with him kind of way. But this is like a catastrophic thing happening to his closest person.
Who he just got back.
Right?
You know,
and he's blaming himself, right, for this happening. So he's like, what do you think? So he's trying to prepare himself. He's trying to have Athena prepare him because he trusts her to tell him the truth, right? And she's just straight up like, no, we're not thinking like that. And it's not in a like, we're not going to give up hope kind of way. Like a just, you know, don't give up the faith. It's very much like, she's like, I know your sister well enough, like in that little team up they had. And I guess from whatever she hears from Buck, to know that like she didn't just build a new life for herself, she rebuilt herself. Basically, like she's a fighter, and like I'm not writing her off. I'm not at a stage where I'm going to be preparing you for like worst case scenario.
Yeah, like don't counter out just yet. And I really do love the way that Athena and Bobby kind of are consoling Buck, because it's not the, you know, pure optimism that we usually see with Buck. There is a little bit of realism put in there, but it's logical. It's, you know, when they're still at the apartment complex and Buck is worried that Maddie's already like dead or something like that, or unalived. But Bobby kind of like takes him by the shoulder. He's like, well, no, think about it. Chimney's here. If Doug wanted to do anything like that to Maddie, she would also be here and you would have found her. So it makes logical sense that wasn't Doug's MO and he's with her. And so Athena kind of like takes the reins from that as well. And this is, I think, one of the reasons why like Bobby and Athena work really well. It's because they're able to, sometimes they both have the brain cell and
they share it.
Exactly. And Athena basically reiterates a lot of that same stuff too. Like it's a cautious optimism, right? Like it's based in logic, but it's also like, don't give up hope because of this legitimate reason sort of thing. And they're able to kind of keep that light of hope alive for Buck when he doesn't really have it available to him, which we know is unusual because he's typically so like little golden retriever, happy-go-lucky, he's a little sunshine optimism boy.
Yeah.
So, I think it's also probably really jarring for the other people in his life when he's not able to like hone that sort of thing, which I mean is also completely understandable because this is such an awful, scary thing that's happening. So you would have to dig really, really, really deep, like 40 feet underground. So everybody else is just like doing the heavy lifting for him. I had to. Sorry. It's been so long since I had a well joke, okay?
I just edited one in the episode that comes out in a couple days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Choppy.
Yeah. I almost made it a promo clip because Syl and I were like, you're fired. Like,
you can't fire me. Just being consistent here.
So maybe let's bounce over to Maddie.
There's a lot of Maddie.
There's a lot of Maddie. I don't know where to start. I think she starts out like kind of hopeless.
I thought you were going to say she starts in a flashback.
Oh, she does. That's true.
It is interesting that they start Maddie's coverage of her storyline with a flashback as opposed to establishing where they are now and then flashing back, like doing it the opposite way. I mean, it's purposeful because we're getting more insight into what Maddie ran away from with Doug to begin with.
Yeah, I think it really does help establish what was going on in their relationship just with like a couple of pieces of dialogue, starting with the wine glasses that I think was like some of Doug's mother's keepsakes. I guess his mom passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And those were like some of those last couple of things that he had of her. So like when he pulls them out, so like, I mean, they're toasting to I think he got a promotion.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. But like, but yeah, so they're toasting to like his promotion. She made a playlist of some of the greatest love songs.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he takes out, like he tells her to put away like the normal like glassware and like, and then he takes out his mom's wine glasses. She's like, her facial expression, you can just tell like it's like an oh no.
There's history with that already, right?
Yeah. And then like she's like, oh, we haven't used those since the wedding. And then he's like cleaning it, and then he's like, yeah, the chip is still there.
It wouldn't grow back.
I know, that was a weird piece of dialogue. Like, what? No, what do you mean it's still there?
It's one of the first bits of emotional manipulation that's like, it could be really innocuous, but with the greater context of everything else, it's like, oh, this is what we're in for.
Yeah. And it's the whole toast carefully next time, or toast softly, I think he says.
So condescending. Yeah.
And that's where I was like, like in my first watch through of that, I didn't, how do I explain it? Like, I didn't think that there was so much weight in that, or maybe I just like glossed over it because it's like so minimal. But watching it again and actually paying attention to that, I was like, oh, so on their wedding night, something was happening too, which we got to see while they were dancing, and she knocked it over when he like, I guess like twirled her, and then like
which is his fault.
Yeah, it is his fault.
He probably purposely twirled her into it.
Mm-hmm.
The way that was set up made me think that it was very significant, implying that like that might have been the beginning of when he started like physically abusing her. Because I think at some point she has a conversation. Her first episode back, right? With Buck, she says the things that you kind of sensed in him even as a kid got way worse after we got married. So that's kind of what I took away from that. So that's why it felt like very significant.
That's interesting, because I kind of took it as like with Maddie's reaction to him pulling out the glasses and her immediate kind of like, oh no, something bad happened with this last time. I kind of was getting more of the feeling that there were things that it was just like ramping up and maybe like little, like smaller, little, like the emotional abuse would obviously still be there, but kind of the physical abuse was like being trickled in and then started ramping up more in ways that she couldn't necessarily, brush it under the rug sort of thing. Because I think the way that the way that her expression is when he pulls out those glasses is a more visceral, like sense memory sort of thing. So I'm wondering if,
well, that's what I think, because it did seem very visceral and very significant.
I guess the way I'm interpreting it is like that was kind of similar to you, but that was the moment where it like really turned a corner into like the more physically abusive stuff as opposed to just the emotionally. I don't know.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay. Not just like starting, but just like more.
He would have been already emotionally abusing her and gaslighting her. I'm saying I think that's the first time something like that he probably like beat her.
Okay.
That was probably the first time that happened. That's what I think. Because it's giving very much a like, this is not coming from a like a studious like place of point of view, right? This is coming from a like media point of view, but like it would very much give like a good opportunity for him to like, now he has tied her down with, the marriage and the legalities of that. And
that's it.
Well, now who's going to believe you? We're like newlyweds.
I guess I wish we knew like how soon after they did get married that whole thing occurred.
Wait, is this fanon or canon that Buck left after their, like shortly right after their wedding? Like, I know the parents didn't go.
I don't remember because I know she gave him well, wait, were they married before Buck left because Maddie would have had
I think so.
That broken hand?
Yes, I think so.
So then they got married before Buck left because that was before Maddie gave him the Jeep.
Right, but I'm saying this is either canon or fanon.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Because it's consistently like written about in fics that he left shortly after their wedding. Like what that is the timeline. Don't know if that's true.
I would say with that, probably not, because if we're saying it's ramping up after the marriage, like I would say these glasses incident would probably precede the broken wrist incident because that's more noticeable. That Justin
isn't. I'm just saying I don't think that like it was years.
Oh, timeline. I wish we had a timeline.
Well, that's why I'm always trying to make one.
But then it gets into these conversations and I'm just like, I don't know.
I feel like every single time we talk about the 911 timeline, I feel like I'm talking about Avengers Endgame time. Timey-wimey, headache-inducing.
Yeah.
Anyway, if anything, pre-wedding, definitely emotional abuse, verbal abuse, or light verbal abuse, because she wouldn't, well, I don't know what
gaslighting.
There's a lot of gaslighting.
Emotional manipulation.
Yeah. After wedding, or maybe on wedding night. I don't know, because like he could easily hurt her in different ways without, like, it's going to be physically abusive, but it's not going to be like, I don't know. I don't know what happened, obviously. I'm just saying, like, there are other ways to physically abuse someone that
other than beating them.
Other than beating them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's the first time he like beat her.
Oh, like fully. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not saying he like that was the first time he ever was rough with her or like.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he could easily grab her hand, like hold it tight, like to the point of bruising. So
yeah. And just to like, I guess, tie up the whole flashback in the kitchen and the dancing. It is interesting, the little bit of lore drop that we get about Doug himself, because it's like, they're celebrating his promotion to like second youngest chief of cardiothoracic surgery in the state, and then he has that little quip about like, whereas my dad would say like close but not quite. And then we get that little tidbit about, the glasses being the last thing that he has of his mom. And so it's like, I wonder then if not to like sympathize or anything, because he's awful and terrible, just awful people, like the season themes, like no redemption, obviously. But I wonder then if there was maybe a family history of,
For sure.
Oh, that's a cycle of abuse. That's very common.
Exactly. So like, it's not surprising. And then I'm just like, that hot and cold about like the love songs on the playlist. And he's like, every love song always reminds him of Maddie and stuff like that. But also like, accidents happen and you just never learn, sort of thing. That very hot and cold.
Well, it just sounds like something that his mom probably said to him before she like beat him as a kid.
You think his mom did?
Probably.
And his dad?
I don't know. It just seems significant that that is what he said.
Yeah. Also, I was just like, do you think maybe there was something edible there? Not edible like om-nom, but edible like Oedipus complex. I don't know.
Oh, God. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into that man because he's dead. So
yeah, I was just like, I just wrote that. I'm like, wouldn't be surprised.
No, I mean that's a good point, because that is a common thing in the real world.
Just one more thing before we move on from this. I just feel like her line delivery about like, oh, that's sweet. I was like, why'd you say it like that? Because I feel like she said it in a way like, oh, how shocking. like in a shock kind of like
what
way.
Did she say that to?
So to Doug. So I think he said, oh, every love song makes me think of you or whatever. And she's like, oh, you're sweet. Like, it's, I don't know why that line delivery just kind of gives like
because it's like
confused.
Like she's constantly trying to convince herself that it's not as bad as it actually is.
Maybe.
Probably. But like, it seems like, I mean, in these flashbacks that we get, that anytime he like love bombs her, it's like the immediate precursor to physical abuse. So that's how that probably works. Also why she's like, oh, you're so sweet.
I think.
Thank you. Anticipating.
Like starting to steel herself up for it. Oh, God. That's heart-wrenching.
Anyway, so flashback to present. I do like how they incorporated these flashbacks kind of similar, but in the opposite way that Chimney's were.
Yeah.
Where his was present into past, back into present. And hers are like her dissociating, basically.
Yeah.
I like when they put it in where it seems like it's a character thing happening and not just like, here you have for context.
Like almost diegetic.
Yeah. It's because you're like in her brain.
Yeah, it is kind of opposite from Chimney's from Chimney Begins as well, because it's like we were talking about how for him it was, like his life flashing before his eyes sort of thing. And I think for Maddie, it's more of her kind of like not reminiscing, but just like reminding herself of what she has overcome already, and like kind of similar to her life flashing before her eyes, but like in a more like, I don't know, conscious way.
I feel like another way to, I guess, kind of say it, I feel like these flashbacks are kind of like she's reminding herself what she went through.
Yes.
Yeah, reminding herself what she went through, because when you get up to the climax of the episode, she's like, I didn't like, she finally found that will to overcome what she went through, and like she stopped running, and now she's like, yeah, she was able to overcome all of that, all of what she went through and everything that was leading to that moment at the end. There.
Yes. Like not reminiscing as in like nostalgia, but like an almost kind of like self-assessing sort of thing, gathering the strength and the courage to like been through this before, made it out, can do it again. I guess.
It doesn't not make sense. I think I just don't think she got there until partway through the episode.
Well, no, I think
because I really think at the beginning she was just like, literally just fucking kill me, because she would rather be dead than be back in the position of all of that shit that she had to go through. And that's what she's like dissociating, remembering. Like, I can't believe I'm back here. I don't want to be back here. I would rather just skip the middle part and just have him kill me.
I think she goes through like waves of this throughout their, I guess, little road trip and stuff, because she does experience that. She says like, you know, that was the plan, right? Just kill me. But then after a little bit, she's like,
is this a weird version of the stages of grief?
I think there's something related to that.
Kind of.
Yeah, because like actually, you know, when she says like, just kill me already, that was the plan, right? I don't think she's really despondent yet. I think when they're still at the beginning, because she like uses the gas station. This is like before they actually stop at the gas station. And she uses that to try to escape and fight back. I think at that point, like it's still kind of early on, that she still has a lot of hope and fight in her, because Doug says like he doesn't want to hurt her because she's all he has. And she's like, you don't have me. So there's still a lot of like, I'm gonna get out of this. Like this is maybe not necessarily that, but like I don't think she's lost hope until the police car passes, like comes up behind them on the highway and passes them. I think that's her realizing like the help is not coming. And even so, I don't think she's completely lost all hope yet, because she utilizes that opportunity to kind of like take control of the narrative of telling him to like get off the road and like suggesting going to Big Bear and everything like that. But I think that's when she like realizes, okay, I can't rely on anyone else right now. I have to rely on myself. So the hope, you can kind of see like some of the hope for an outside assist kind of leave her eyes a little bit. And she's steeling herself to be like, okay, I haven't given up all hope yet for myself. So I've got to do it. And that's kind of what I think Jennifer Love Hewitt was saying in that article, where like Maddie saves Maddie because nobody else was able to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she like, I don't think there's a moment where she truly gives up all hope.
I didn't say she gave up hope. I said at the very beginning, when she's in that car, before we get to the gas station, when we see her right after that flashback, when she's like, just skip to the end and just kill me. And because she thinks Chimney's dead. So she thinks this person she really cares about is dead because of her. She thinks that she is going to be stuck back in this place that she dug herself out of.
Stuck.
So she's like dissociating, just like whatever. End it, I guess, then. But then when there's at the gas station and then there's things she can do, then she's like, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think she was like ever like completely out of hope, but I think in that moment, because of the trauma of it and because of like, I'm just trying to think of how I would be in that situation, and I wouldn't be like, I'm just waiting to see what I can do. I would be like, no, literally just kill me. So
I don't think at that point she has like any plan formed yet, but
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think still that 5 stages of grief thing tracks just kind of like randomly out of order, because I think she's in these cycles based on like what opportunities she sees, because she's keeping an eye out for like all of her surroundings and like what she could possibly take advantage of, or like who could possibly help her.
Yeah.
So she definitely does go through, I think, all of these stages. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I feel like, is it 5 of them? I saw somewhere that it was 7.
It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So I think it's very much like, so denial is kind of like what I'm thinking of. It's like dissociating. And then she is angry. That's when she's just like, you don't have me. I think what I understood from like her saying that is like, I'm not your wife. You don't have me. Like, you might have me physically, but like, you don't have me emotionally. I'm not yours. And that she's like So, like, isn't that the plan? Like, you kill Chimney, then you kill me, and then hopefully kill yourself and cause him a monster? Like, that's anger. That's her not giving a shit or thinking about, like, how to talk to someone like him to try and, like, manipulate him to try and make sure she, you know, can survive.
Which is a fine line to walk to, like, get him angry and stuff like that. Like,
well, that's what I was saying, because, like, when she's doing that, I think she just doesn't care. That's when she's in the, like, denial dissociating and she's angry. And then the bargaining, she's like, it's not too late. Like, you can just pull over and, like,
we can talk.
We can talk. And he's like, I killed someone. Like, there's no coming back from that. And, like, he's not wrong.
Late.
Except for the part where he's like, I killed someone for you. Okay, man.
Ugh.
The depression feels self-explanatory. And then, like, acceptance is, like, her accepting that she has to just do it herself.
Yeah, great call. So
I think that makes sense.
Glad to make this even more depressing than it already is. Because, like, it also, like, 5 stages of grief. Like, I feel... Because, like, it does start off with actually her thinking that she lost someone.
Yeah.
And that she's losing a lot of other people along the way. And then, like, maybe even, like, losing herself because she did, like, rebuild herself. And now it's like, oh, great, I'm back here.
That's taken away again.
Grieving the life
that she built.
The people and the life she built. And, you know, finding herself again. Yeah.
Oh,
you're right. That was way more depressing.
Wow. We can always find a way to make it more depressing, right?
Good God.
That's true talent of, I think, any one of us.
You know, we live in our angsty bubble. It's
okay. I'm going to try and do the TLDR version of, I know they had to do this for the plot, but this drives me fucking nuts at the gas station.
The floor is yours.
I know that she had an original plan and then she just doesn't do it. And it looked like the original plan was take paper with the rental agreement for the car, which will be able to track her and him. So smart, right? Hide it, get the key and a pen, write help, call 911, whatever, and hand it back with the key so that they can call 911 with, hey, 911, someone was in here who looked like they were beat up and really skittish. And here is the thing that they left with me. How quick could they have gotten someone on their tail with that? But instead, she panics because, you know, fight, flight, whatever. So instead she panics.
That's when the flight kicks in.
I guess. But I was like, you literally just said to him, like, where would I go?
You're in the middle
Girl,
of nowhere.
listen to yourself. Where were you going? You're at a random gas station on a highway with nothing. Like, what were you going to do? Where were you going to go?
Yeah, it's not like she could have taken the car, too. He had the keys, right? Because she could have left them stranded. I don't know if that was her original plan.
Or maybe, like, hitch a ride with the other truck driver.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I think she was literally just going to ride out in the field. I don't think she had. Yeah. I think she started to write and the pen immediately didn't do what she wanted it to do. And she just was like, fuck it. And went out the window. I was like, lick your finger, rub the pen.
I know, right? We've all done like the like writing on your hand first to get the stupid ballpoint.
I was like, you can make it work. I was like, I would literally be taking the pen apart and like biting into it to get the ink out. You know what I mean? It's a better idea to have some ink in my mouth than to try and pry the window open and he can hear her doing it. Anyway, it drives me fucking nuts every single time.
But I guess that is like inherently the struggle, like the eternal struggle of fight or flight, you know? Like one of them is gonna win out, and sometimes it's, you know, it's for survival mode, but some of it may be like a better survival mode than other. And it's just like when, I don't know, higher processes not working as well as they normally would have. I agree with you. I don't know why she had the plan and then decided to just like throw the plan away.
At the first sign, it was because the pen,
out the window
it was because it like wasn't writing easily, and she panicked because he was like at the door.
Yeah.
But I was like, if you would have like just pretended to be chill, acted like you were using the bathroom,
instead of
he's
like,
not going to break down the door with the guy there, right? You can get the pen to work, but instead you're prying the window open and he can hear you doing that. Like it just, the logic. Oh man, her and Chim made for each other.
Oh,
MFEO. Anyway, it's cinema, but it's just one of those things where I'm watching the character do it and I'm like, I know I've watched this a million times and I know exactly what's going to happen, but every time I'm like, could you not though?
I'm having you know what I'm about to mention?
Oh no.
Drum roll, please.
Oh jeez.
Supernatural.
Oh god. Which part?
Charlie.
Oh, way to make it more depressing.
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's not even the same scenario. It's just like annoying things that happen that could have been prevented. And in Charlie's case, she could have crawled out of that window.
Yeah, but they wanted to fridge her, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get what you're. Understand.
Like the narrative wants it to be a certain way.
She could have crawled out the window, but she was also dealing with the supernatural, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little more dicey.
Yeah, it's not just a guy.
It's not just a guy with a knife and a gun.
Monsters I get. People are crazy.
Can we also just, why would you point a gun at someone and then just walk closer and closer to them? Like rip gas attendant.
Yes, rip gas attendant.
Yeah.
A gas attendant. I don't know. Gas attendant, you could have shot him
he was
on the foot something.
I would have literally just shot. Like, I mean, not literally, I would not, because I don't like guns and I would never touch. But like, hypothetically, if this were me, I would just shoot him in a non-lethal like way.
That's what I'm trying.
Yeah.
But like, the whole point of guns is you don't have to be close to them.
That's why they say don't bring a gun to a knife fight. Yeah, I mean, I think like props to gas station attendant.
Listen, he tried.
For, like he tried, and he did pick up on the right kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I mean was very fairly obvious. Let's be real. They weren't gonna hide anything. But then he's also like trying to do the right thing. So then we have another like example of like good Samaritan, like trying to do stuff, which I think we saw again with early season 2 with I think 202 or 203. Just like it does not work out for him, even though he's trying, and would have been great if that. But also, why didn't he call 911?
He called 911. There were brain cells. And Doug, unfortunately, had all of them.
Yeah.
At that gas station.
Yeah, like he could have.
And he hid his phone. Like that was smart.
Which again,
I mean, he's a doctor. So
yeah, he unfortunately very very intelligent. To be a surgeon. But it was interesting too that we didn't see him ditch the phone in the truck. Kind of like we didn't see Buck grab the phone and I just thought that was like an interesting kind of parallel there. After like that, the struggle with Doug and the gas station attendant, like, and the gas station attendant gets shot in the struggle. Maddie like does go into nurse mode. So she, even though she is in crisis herself, she's still like going into nurse mode, 911 dispatcher, first responder mode, and like saying, stay with me. And then it's so painful to watch because then Doug shoots him again, killing him, and Maddie is like literally right there, and it's just like, gosh, I'm not sure if she's ever like been there to see something like that happen. And it's also it's one thing to know that Doug killed or as far as she's aware of killed Chimney, but she didn't see it happen. And now she's seen this happen. And it's just like that. You see her kind of go into a little bit of shock, right? You know, I think it really does jar her a little bit. So she has to like re-strategize how she's going to help herself because Doug says like no one's saving anyone. So there you have like the no help is not coming. Also, this just occurred to me, and sorry, but the way that she is so close to you're welcome. Sorry, and you're welcome. The way that she's so close to the gas station attendant, and when Doug shoots him, and then she gets some of the blood splatter on her face, kind of like another Buckley that we know and love. There you go. I made it more depressing.
Thank you, Rachel, for that.
I told you I connect the dots.
Also, I think this is one of the first couple of scenes that I see Jennifer Love Hewitt's like horror movie acting based on the screaming and just some of her acting choices. I'm like, oh yeah, you've definitely done a lot of horror movies.
She is a scream queen. Yeah, like she just has such great, like she can tap into her emotional range so well and so quickly. Like it's really remarkable. It's like it feels like there's so many emotions that she can access that are like just bubbling just under the surface, and all she has to do is like pinpoint one and just it, and she's like in tears or like screaming or anything. I think she has really like honed her craft. It's fantastic. Can't wait to see season 8 when we come back. I'm so scared. just to bring it back to present tense as well.
Even more scared after rewatching this.
Yes.
With the context of her interview where she's like, it's the craziest thing I've ever done. Crazier than the Doug.
Yeah, we were all like, crazier than Doug?
Crazier than this?
Because this was a lot.
Uh-huh.
And you know, the parallel of the Maddie abduction and then, you know, the possible serial killer abduction maybe sort of thing. And it's just like, I don't know why whatever we're watching in our rewatch is so like,
I don't know,
like paralleling
podcast
what's
God's
happening. The what? The podcast gods?
The podcast God's favorite.
It's I don't know, it's kind of quite remarkable just like how much specifically season 8 and
someone somewhere thinks that we're like really good at planning this out.
No, this is all luck.
None of this has been on purpose. Everything's pure coincidence. And we're just like, wow, this is really cool. It's worked out this way every single time.
Every time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also especially scared because I have started dipping my toe into the thick of the abduction of it all. I don't like it. It's a work in progress, so I'm just currently like.
Well, I think it's
fine.
Called. I think it's called Bravery Game by Songbird. That one's complete.
That one I haven't read yet.
But is that one complete or is that work in progress?
That one's complete.
That one's completed. The one I'm reading is a work in progress. Bleed for Me by Olympia. Buck is kidnapped by a serial killer. Only when Maddie is taken to do his friends notice his absence. Kill me. Leave him alone. Kill me instead.
Leave him alone.
Leave Evan alone. Okay, so are we to the cabin? Because I don't know how much patrol car we have to talk about that we didn't already mention.
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit. Yeah. I think that is when she was like, okay, help is not coming.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, hunker down and figure this out myself. And that's also when she suggests the condos that she saw at, up on Big Bear. And she's like, she changes tactic a little bit because she's like, okay, well, if they're not coming to get me, I'm going to like prolong my survival. So she switches the tactics where it's like, okay, we have to get off this road. So instead of being like very seen, look at that, being seen and noticed, she's like, we got to get off the road. Like they're going to be coming after you at some point, even though she didn't see the APB out on him when he did. So
she can assume,
because
of course. She works at dispatch.
Exactly. She's using her knowledge and her resources. Like they're going to be coming after you. Like, let's get out of Dodge. She's basically prolonging her survival at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to the cabins, and then we can talk about the cabin.
That patrol car could have been for her if she had. Anyway, so she kind of manipulates him into going to the specific place because she knows that he likes the cabins back at home in the not home because they didn't live in the Poconos, but back in Pennsylvania in the Poconos. It's where my parents went on their honeymoon. It's where my brother and sister-in-law went on their honeymoon. It's a honeymoon place.
Well, they do say at some point, they said somewhere like they're on their second honeymoon.
So yeah, she knows that he likes the Poconos and is like, oh, there's this place that's like, it's like the Poconos, you'll love it. So she is now in her not only like survival for herself mode, but like get them away from other people that he can hurt mode.
Yes, that's it exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she pays attention to her surroundings and finds a way that she knows will work on him.
Mm-hmm. And it's appealing to his like hot and cold nature and stuff like that, because he really is like going back and forth, just like the love bombing, but then also all of that emotional manipulation. So when they break into the cabin over there, she's very quick to say like, oh, I'll check the kitchen. But unfortunately he is also intelligent. So he's like, no, where the knives are, absolutely not. But and I love that we get this moment when Maddie does sit down on the couch, like in front of the fireplace, as Doug's back is turned to her to start the fire. She is looking all over the room and assessing and looking at what resources she has available. And I love that we just get to actually see her take that in, like in real time.
He's smart enough to know that there's knives in the kitchen, but I guess not smart enough to know what tools are by a fireplace, which I guess tracks since he didn't know he had to open a fucking flue.
Smart but dumb.
Which he's like, laugh at the rich boy. And I'm like, I don't think you have to be rich to know about flues and chimneys.
Wait a second. No, wait, this is actually kind of interesting because the first thing that they do is like open the chimney up. And this is also when he's talking about police or firefighters or whatever flirting with Maddie and obviously like his jealousy about Chimney is coming out. So it's very much like Chimney is kind of like in the room with them a little bit as his room.
He like leans hard into the like, we can start over, da, 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 which is barf. And she's like, yeah, I always found a way to forgive you. And he's like, it's working. And then she grabs a poker and she pokes him. She should have done it more than once to make sure the turkey was done, but it's fine. It worked out in the end. I'm just saying. You don't just baste a turkey once. I don't know why I'm comparing him to a turkey.
I don't know.
Talking about basting. I'm vegan. This is such a weird analogy. I don't even like turkey. I mean, maybe that makes sense then.
This is quite an interesting analogy for you.
Oh, no. It's a poke turkey. Oh, maybe it's because of... I don't know. Maybe this is how my brain got there. There's this one YouTuber who refers to Joe Alwyn as the turkey.
What? Huh?
There's this one like Swift reactor YouTuber who refers to Joe Alwyn as the turkey.
He doesn't even look like a turkey.
He's a bland white man.
Oh. I was like, I did not see the resemblance.
I'm just saying I would have hit him at least twice.
Yeah.
Before I ran. I would have hit him more than twice because he was down.
That is true, but I think it's that like that flight thing coming back in.
What?
No, because Maddie is so me for real, except when there's bugs involved.
There's like a pest and you're like scared. It's a spider and you're scared, so you like hit it once and you run away because it's still twitching.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's the, I was like, damn, that's exactly how how I kill a bug.
It's like hitting, like throwing the shoe at the wall and then backing and running away before you can actually check, because you're just like, gotta go.
Also, because like you're like, what if it jumps at me, or what if it runs away, or what if it runs towards me? So
well, these are all valid points.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
fair.
It is the flight part truly taking over, and I think we can see here that, like, you know, we've talked a lot about like gut instincts in the last couple episodes, but with flight, it doesn't use any gut instinct. It's just kind of like a reflex, which maybe isn't the best reflex.
I guess it's interesting for me because of how my brain specifically works. I mean, like, I've never been in this situation, obviously.
And but yeah, none of us are.
But like, I literally only operate off, I'm like Buck. Like, I literally only operate off of my gut. First thought and head do thing. But I also have watched horror movies and know how that works. So I know that hitting the thing once is not how that works.
Mm-hmm. Still, they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. So like, where are you going to go?
I know. This is, I mean, at least better because it's daytime.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like there's cabins and stuff. And like she knows where like the main road was.
Yeah.
And that the car is there. So
it was a better plan than the gas station escape attempt.
I would have still ran, but I would have hit him at least one more time, maybe on the other side. Because his eye was fucked up.
You make many points.
I know.
But I think it's a little bit of
it's for the cinema. I know it's for the suspense.
It's the cinema, and also just kind of like a see opportunity take.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't remember how close he was standing to her, but like maybe she just didn't think it was gonna land because that's how I would. Again, going back to my little bug thing, I'm like, I don't know if I.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't have the element of surprise like she did the first time, but he was down on the ground. So I don't know. And I think he was face down. So she could have hit him in the back of the head.
The only thing I'll say about this is like, I can understand like it takes a little bit more time to like wind back up for that sort of thing. So then by losing the element of surprise and the time to like wind back up and like regain the strength to like do another hit, that is also time where she could have had a head start. So I think it was like, that is literally fight or flight. Like,
but he still has a gun, like terrible stormtrooper aim, but he has a gun.
But maybe that's why he has a gun.
Stormtrooper aim. Pew pew.
Am I wrong?
No.
Nope. Then she makes up for it because she is a very smart person. Mm-hmm. And she runs and she like gets to a certain point and is like, wait.
Places I can't. See, sorry. And we run. Sorry, that made me think of that.
But you can see like she's formulating a plan. So it's snow. So she starts backtracking so that he will be led astray.
Yeah. So this is our scene dissection.
Oh, yeah.
Hey! Where's the fire?
So we're looking at the entire kind of like fight struggle in the woods as what we're going to dissect for our scene dissection. But yes, when she like looks back and sees her footprints in the snow, it's so smart because again, kind of like Buck, you see the wheels and the gears turning. So there's that like very practical aspect as well that we see pay off when she like doubles back on him and does another like surprise attack maneuver. I also in just like my typical way of trying to make everything mean something, you know, I kind of saw like her seeing her steps behind her as also like a metaphor for like how far she's come in her life and in getting away from Doug, and you know, kind of like standing her ground in staying in one place. I just liked kind of maybe the visual metaphor of seeing Maddie kind of like what she's been doing in the whole episode so far, where with the flashbacks is like looking back on some of these past experiences and realizing like where she is now. And that is also where she decides to like stop running.
Mm-hmm.
So twofold. It's a great tactic to be able to confuse Doug, and he kind of falls for it. But then like he does realize what happened.
Mm.
And it's also interesting that like you said stormtrooper aim, which is very accurate. But then he brings out that knife again that, you know, he used on Chimney, and it's become such a personal struggle because you have a weapon that you have to be so much closer to be able to achieve damage, I guess. I don't know. I was trying to make it like video game sound, but
that's called melee.
Thank you.
It's a melee weapon versus a ranged weapon.
Yes, exactly. I need to play more D&D. And she's not running anymore, so it really becomes like a drag down, knockout, like slog fest, you know, just really struggling. And we do see like the kickboxing training that was from last episode with Buck was really paying off as well. And when Maddie finally gets the upper hand and stabs Doug, like all of the fight just kind of goes out of her for a minute, which like totally understandable. You have to take a breather. That is very physically demanding. And that's just, you know, like the adrenaline crash, just like immediate. I'm sure it's a combination of shock and also terror of her hurting someone as well, because as a first responder, as a trained nurse, she does everything that she can to help people not be harmed and get out of harm. And it's like, it's such a, I think I keep using the word jarring, but it's probably such like a jarring thing to do the complete opposite of what, you know, she's trained and what she's dedicated her life to doing.
Mm-hmm.
But she had to do it.
Yeah.
It literally was life or death. So we see like all of this fight go out on her when she like shoves him off of her, and it goes like her eyes start to close, and we get this like great POV shot of like from her angle up, looking up at the sky, like the perfectly blue sky, and start to see it kind of like vignette, and like her eyes close essentially. And kind of like what we've been saying with the flashbacks, it's in this case, I think it really isn't so much of a my life flashing before my eyes thing, because this is the addendum to the flashback that we saw once they entered the cabin, which was the police doing a welfare check after a neighbor called.
Mm-hmm.
So with the first part, when they were still in the cabin, during this flashback, the officer was asking her, you know, is there anything he can do? Is there anything And she was unwilling or unable or not ready to speak up about Doug's abuse, because it was very obvious what was going on. She was wearing a sweater in like apparently the summer or something like that. And he, I think, kind of like how Athena operates a little bit too, when Athena was talking to Stevie in New Beginnings, he was like, she shouldn't be scared of what Doug will do if she reports him, but she
should be scared what he'll do if she stays.
Yeah, like don't be afraid to run, be afraid to stay, which is ironically kind of the opposite of everything that she's like done or that she chooses to do in this episode. But it's like it's the mirror reverse image of that. So it's like in this case, like she's done running and she does decide to stay, but she stays for herself and to like protect herself, as opposed to like doing what she did at the beginning of this season, which was running away from Doug, if that makes any kind of sense.
Does, but how I read that was what Doug was saying to her, of how like, you can't ever leave me. We're made to be together like forever, blah, 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 blah. And that's when she's like, no, and like snaps out of it.
Well, yeah.
She's like, I'm not gonna fucking die with you. Like I'm not giving him what he wants.
No, I know. I hadn't gotten there yet. I was saying like the don't be afraid to run, be afraid to stay sort of thing is like in the present day, she's not afraid to run anymore. But she's not going to stay there with him. She's going to do everything in her power to like get out of this situation. And then, like you were saying, when he's like when Doug's love bombing her and being like, this is how our story ends, then
it snaps her out of her like fading consciousness, like back into the present.
Yes. And she's like taking control. She's taking control of her narrative. Because she's like, that's not how the story ends. And that's when she like really is freed of Doug. Like all the shackles are off sort of thing. Also because he's dead. So that helps.
But yeah, instead of like, going gently into
the light.
Yes, into the dark night or whatever. She fucking snaps out of it and then like drags herself up, and she's got to be in like an intense amount of pain.
Oh yeah, because she also got
swiped
stabbed in the stomach as well, just like Chimney.
Aw,
they match.
They have matching,
made for each other.
His and hers.
Oh no,
his and hers stab wounds. But yeah, so she is still running on she's. No one's coming to save her. So she's like, I got to get back out.
I got to save myself.
Where I came from, back to the car, back to civilization. Like, I'm not giving up. So she's pushing herself. She's not giving up.
Question.
Yes.
Remind me, especially Hand, because I know you edited the last episode. Did we talk about Chimney and Maddie being basically Romeo and Juliet or no?
I feel like we mentioned it very briefly.
So I brought up the fact that, one of the song that plays in the second emergency room scene, the Radiohead song, was written for the Romeo and Juliet movie from the 90s.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why? How did...
Well, because she thinks he's dead. And then I was going to make a joke. I was going to be like, oh yeah, twinsies, they're,
oh, sweet apothecary.
They're till death do us part. I don't fucking know. I was gonna make a joke.
No, wait. I think you actually are onto something, because both Chimney and Maddie think the other one is already dead. That's so interesting. But it has a much happier ending. And I mean, you do get that like classic Romeo and Juliet scene when she goes to like his like deathbed or something like that. But it's a hospital bed, so it's a life bed.
Shouldn't you be in a hospital? Oh my God.
I am in a hospital.
I am in a hospital.
Cheese for cheese. They really are made for each other. No, I think it is kind of Romeo and Juliet-y, but tragedy in a different way.
Without the suicidal ideation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like happier ending.
Yeah.
Worse in the middle, kind of. So, toss up. Anyways, I like that read. So
I don't know what else I was gonna say about that. I was just like, I don't know. I mean, there's also the added fact, like, oh, now they can't be together, or like they couldn't be together in the first place because of like Doug haunting the narrative, and then all of that other stuff, and then it's finally. But yeah, they get a happier ending.
Well, in this episode,
eventually.
And then they have to deal with everything.
Oh, and wait, and he thinks that she could be dead. Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is why with like Romeo and Juliet, like Juliet thinks wait, no. I forget who is.
I think he saw
Romeo thinks that Juliet is actually dead, but she took like a sleeping thing. That slows down the heart rate.
So then he goes to her deathbed and is like, oh, what lips does the kiss.
Yes.
And then he dies, and then she wakes up, and then she stabs her. So more stabby.
Oh, dagger.
Oh, God.
Oh, happy dagger. Isn't that it?
I think so. I don't remember. It's been so many years since I took that class.
I do not think that those are the words.
No.
Oh, it is so happy dagger. What a weird thing to say.
Can I get that in plain English, please? What do you mean happy?
Oh, sweet death.
It's happy because he wants to die and the dagger's going to help him.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking freak.
Shakespeare, man.
I meant Romeo and
Also
Shakespeare.
Romeo and-
I just would like to let it be known that I meant both of them.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the spiraling into our...
Sorry, my AP Lit jumped out.
My English major tries to jump out every now and then.
Oh, happy day and let me die. Thank you.
Stab.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that I was also correct because I said the apothecary thing earlier.
Yeah.
So great.
No,
great.
you were correct.
Cool. Which sounds way better than Happy Dagger.
Well, it's
I'm
either
really
poison-
judgmental in this episode about a lot of things.
This episode? We listen
But like more than
and
usual.
we don't judge.
No, I'm always judging. So sorry. That's all right.
It's fine. Anyways, okay, so
she's
stab, die. She lives. Yay.
yeah, so she's running to try and save herself. And she sees Buck and it's very, very sweet because they find each other.
Yeah, it's that like cathartic release for both of them because he's worried sick and she's just like ready.
And she's just like, oh my
to
God.
collapse.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was, I don't know how much longer she would have been able to like keep going. She would have.
Her literal support system.
Yeah. Just like, I really love when we get Buckley sibling-ness like that. And I don't know, maybe it's high time we see something like this again. Just saying. Mm-hmm.
I just got not exciting goosebumps. Like I'm terrified goosebumps thinking about what Tim Minear is going to do to us. Like I'm literally shaken in my, well, I don't have boots on.
I'm excited.
Socks. I'm excited too, but I'm also scared. Okay. Scared. That man is scary.
Yeah.
Once we realized that he had a Pisces moon, man. I'm terrified of that man.
I'm sorry, he was a Pisces and a Scorpio, right?
Yes.
Scorpio, Sun, Pisces, Moon.
That's how I call him.
I just had a thought.
What?
This is why the water emergencies hit so hard. Because it comes from his brain.
And there's so many fucking Scorpios in this cast.
I'm just saying, yeah. I'm just saying, this is why any emergency with water hits so hard.
Actually, that would be like my Scorpio freaks.
He's one of yours.
And that is why I don't trust him.
You're like, I love him, but I do not trust him.
That would be kind of an interesting investigative study thing to look into, like writers, showrunners, and the kind of like emergencies or dire straits that they put their characters through, and if that has any kind of like correlation to
elements,
something about astrology. Someone do that for me, please.
That's a lot of research, guys.
Someone who isn't us do it. Yes.
I don't want to do that research, but I want to see that research done.
So wrapping this scene dissection up.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. Wrapping the scene dissection up. I do really like that we then see Athena with useless fucking detective. And he's like, oh, it's a miracle.
Like this, that's
and she's
rude.
like, no, it's
nothing.
not a miracle.
You didn't lift a finger. You did nothing.
Yeah.
She made her own miracle. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Like, come on.
She's like, no, she saved herself. Like she fought like hell.
Because they didn't really do anything. And then of course we see the scene with Maddie and Buck in the ambulance, which is so just like pulling at heartstrings, right? Because Buck is, you know, like I was running all over the state for you. I wasn't dressed for the snow, you know, like infusing a little bit of classic Buck humor.
Right.
And
she's like, neither was I.
Yeah, which is really sweet. And then Maddie gets the news that like Chimney is alive, and she just what a beautiful like moment of reaction in there, and
makes me cry.
What if we get a parallel to this with Buddie?
Oh,
of course Buck's alive.
The thing, you know what? I can picture it.
Yeah. But the question is Eddie going to be in Texas or not?
I don't know either.
That's what I'm having trouble picturing.
I'm still in the he was probably going to leave, but then something stops him from leaving, which would be this emergency.
That's what I'm thinking.
He's dead set until. That was at Tim. Between like all of the Maddie and Buck and Athena on the case, we see Chimney's like waking up and he gets some visitors. So like Chris visits him and Hen visits him. And I don't know how much we really want to talk about all that, except for like with Hen, you really see Chimney like kind of beat himself up a little bit about like, how did I not see it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically what we've kind of been lovingly harping
on him about for 2 weeks.
Yes, lovingly ragging on him about for 2 weeks about how like, Chimney, you have no gut instinct, you have no survival instincts. And it's just like, I hate that he's beating himself up about that. But at the same time,
for this, I was just like, bro.
At the same time,
the
it's
red
like
flags.
Yeah, you missed like a field of red flags, but like
she doesn't know about the red flags though.
No, but Hen,
and I don't think she needs to.
No.
Yeah.
And Hen in very, logical Hen fashion is just like, usually psychopaths don't announce that they're psychopaths, which is a great point, but some people are able to pick up on that a little better.
Yeah.
Admittedly. So
yeah.
So like he while he's upset about missing Doug's deception, he really is worried about Maddie most of all. And I think that's like such a lovely thing because both Maddie and Chimney are more worried about the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a really lovely altruistic like selflessness. He feels like he failed her, but he just wanted to protect her. And Maddie also kind of feels the same in the opposite direction, that by staying in one place, she's exposed everybody else to like the Doug of it all. And then it's really, really sweet when they finally have their reunion and cheesy, I am in a hospital line. Even cheesier.
Wait, so they're cheese for cheese and Buddy's freak for freak.
I keep telling you, Madney is like the rom-com couple of cheese the show.
Cheese and freak for freak.
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
Like one of the Chimney scenes that I really love in this episode was when Christopher's in the room and Chimney and Christopher are talking. They're talking. It's a callback to like, I think 204, where Christopher and Chimney are talking about like the multiple surgeries they've had and how Chimney had survived that rebar to his head and had surgery there. And then Bobby's also there. And
Bobby is also.
And he like tells Christopher, yeah, I'm starting to think, but I think Chimney was saying that, I'm getting a lot more surgeries or something. Someone's pointing that out.
He was catching up to
Christopher. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bobby's like, yeah, and no, I'm starting to think that he's more like a superhero, which is like a great like little tie back, or kind of to a tie back to kind of what Chimney has always
thought about,
wanted to be, kind of, or wanted to be like this like heroic person. and with Bobby saying that, I feel like we've come full circle because I mean, Chimney kind of like Chimney is, but like in this scenario, like he's also like surviving some of the worst things imaginable. He's a little indestructible, this poor man. And he continues to be more indestructible as we go through some of the other situations that he goes through.
When he becomes the narrative's favorite, the narrative does not go easy on him.
No. But they're like, no, he's 911 Jesus, I guess.
I hate to be the bearer of sad ruminations, but
we've all had our moments in this episode.
Do you think that Christopher, who just had this big Santa moment of his mom coming home, after he already had the Santa moment of his dad coming home, and now has being in the hospital when you're an adult can mean you're a superhero and you can survive all these things. Thought that his mom would be okay.
Well, his mom didn't even get to the hospital.
I mean, she did. I'm sure he didn't go, hey, son, your mom died in the ambulance. I don't even think they called time of death.
I mean, maybe if you parallel, I'm not even talking about, at this point, I'm not talking about Shannon. If you parallel that to this thought process with Buck and also his dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, like Buck was like sitting him down after shootings, about to deliver bad news, but he's like, oh, he's going to be okay. Or like, oh, because
he's been okay and you're always okay.
Yeah,
when you go to this Cedars-Sinai,
they're gonna fix
the
you.
magic superhero hospital.
What's this hospital called?
Cedars-Sinai.
It's either
Is that where they took Shannon? Maybe that's why she died, because they didn't take her there.
I don't think she made it to the hospital, though, honestly.
I know.
And that's why she didn't.
She can get the magical hospital powers?
No. She was in
She was always going to die. It was like a massive.
It's a canon event,
injuries.
guys.
Yeah.
It's a canon event.
Gosh.
Anyway, I made myself extremely sad with that, and I am blaming you, Sil. So thanks.
You're welcome. I love when I do that.
Yeah, I mean,
it means I made an impact.
What do you mean mom isn't okay? Should you take her to the hospital? Chimney was okay.
I mean, I think you also kind of have to take into account Christopher's personal experience being a patient in the hospital as well, even though he's been like very, very young, but he's had, you know, a number of surgeries. So like he, I think, would have, just like in that childlike wonder that we talked about in, what was it, 202? I think he would think of the hospitals as a place where people get better. Because he got better.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that, you know, he doesn't really have as necessarily a negative connotation with hospitals that, you know, the adults do. And I love that they brought Chris in to see Chimney, because we don't really see a lot of Chris's interaction with a lot of the 118 besides Buck after 204. So it was a really nice way to like touch back on, you know, how big of an impact Chimney has, which I think is kind of played to a larger part with everybody coming into the waiting room, which we'll mention in a little bit. But gosh, that's real sad. So yeah, according to Chris and Bobby, Chimney is a superhero. And I think that's also like Bobby saying that Chimney is a superhero is kind of him paying it forward to Chimney, basically saying that Bobby was a superhero with his magic blood in Point of Origin 105, which we talked about superheroes so much. So
one day they're going to remember that Bobby has magic blood.
I want that storyline to come back around so bad. I had theories for this, but you know, sometimes they forget things. They remember a lot, but sometimes they forget stuff. Yeah. So like kind of what I mentioned about, you know, the 118 and the extended 118 family kind of gathering for both Chimney and Maddie, it really kind of shows their impact of how, you know, how many people one person can kind of affect, like this ripple effect, you know, and it's really lovely to see how many people are like coming together to rally behind Chimney, but also like as they're looking for Maddie and everyone's just kind of like waiting with bated breath. And you don't see anyone from dispatch coming into the waiting room, but you kind of like get that same vibe with Josh and Sue and everything like that. And we get some really lovely moments, like just kind of reminiscing about stuff, sharing stories, which you kind of, you know, have to do in moments like this, when you're just in a waiting room and you're just like waiting for time to pass and the anxieties are up and it's like, what are you going to do? And waiting for someone to pull through. So Hen sharing stories about, Chimney babysitting Denny with like, you know, how to soothe the baby. And it's like, and Chimney ended up doing all of the methods, which I thought was just like such a great Chimney thing to do.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm going to cover all of my bases. Like that just felt like really in character. And we see like Bobby and Hen kind of lean on each other a lot with that as well. And then Michael and Harry stop by and they bring like food. And it's with that, it's also very much like in 202 when Michael brings Harry and May to help out with the church, that like Good Samaritan thing. And it's basically, it's just like the whole extended family like supporting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see some stuff with Eddie and Chris and Shannon, but I'll probably want to talk about that in Slowburn.
Just one small thing. I feel like the Harry, there's a small mention of like Harry being, by Michael, Harry being worried about Bobby. And there's like a moment of like, that touched him.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's a pretty good setup for what happens in the next episode.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it.
I forgot that was, is it next?
It is the next one.
Think
Because it keeps playing when I stopped watching.
Oh
yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting too. I love when there's just like a little itty bitty like piece of foreshadowing that you don't realize until after. And it's just like, it's dropped in there so smoothly, because it's like, it makes sense for them to be there. So it's not like totally, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it's like,
that's
it's like
weird.
It's like them continuing these small little threads that they just put in there and like they're threading. I don't know, some threading analogy. Anyway.
Tapestries.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into Slowburn.
Gay recognizes gay?
Speaking of Michael coming in, and
there is the shot. It's not really the Spider-Man meme, but it's kind of the Spider-Man meme, and it's only for like 4 frames.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Hen in the center with Michael on the left and Eddie on the right, like a triangle, like the Spider-Man meme. And I was like, oh my God. It's all the Kinsey sixes.
Yes.
Oh my God. Which is ironic because you need some bisexual finger guns in there.
But yeah, I don't know. I was trying to figure out what the purposeful, because like I rewound this several times because like, I mean, I'd have to go look at the whole scene again, I think. But like, I was like, this seems like such a purposeful, like panning behind Hen, watching her watch Eddie and Michael meet.
It's like the eyes bouncing between.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because we know she's fucked.
Also, again, correct me if I'm wrong. Have we heard Eddie say I love you to an adult who is not a love interest?
He hasn't even said it to the love interest.
Well, wait.
No.
He says it to Shannon.
Say it to Shannon.
Yes, he does.
Does he?
I'm pretty sure he says it when she's dying.
At this point.
I meant like overall ever does he say it.
Did he say it to her when she's dying?
I'm pretty sure he says it to her when she's dying. Because he's like, Christopher and I love you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't.
It's not I love you so much.
It's always Christopher and I. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Anyway.
Interesting word choice.
Which is not romantic.
Anyway, Michael rolls up with some coffee, and that's all it takes for Eddie to be like, we haven't met, but I love you, Eddie. Bro, what?
Yeah, again, like from a narrative standpoint, like it makes sense of like all of these other like smaller factions of the extended family that haven't met yet, like meeting.
Right.
It makes sense, but also it's just so interesting that they point out that they spend time
specifically point out these 2 meeting.
Yes. And I don't know if it on a surface level, could it be because like they are both fathers and there's like an element of Bobby and Buck father son, like Eddie and Chris father son, Michael and Harry father son, but like it just seems more poignant than that. And it's just so interesting because they barely have any other interaction throughout the rest of Michael's time on the series. And it's just like, like it makes sense in the episode, but it's still like, enough to draw our attention to it, you know, as a father who was married to a woman and came out later as gay.
Mm-hmm.
They have nothing in common at all.
I'm also fucking stuck. I forgot that he says, I love you, but I love you. And I understand he doesn't mean I actually love you because it's a thing that you say in the English language for many things. And one of those is like, oh my God, you brought me coffee. I love you.
Yeah.
But I never hear this man say, I love you to anyone who isn't Christopher, except for when Shannon was dying. I don't think I've ever heard him say it.
Anyway, we're categorizing this as, weird.
That's gay. Tell us it's not.
Oh my God, maybe this is the moment that Hen clocks it.
Yeah.
Could be.
Honestly, that would make sense to me. It would but while we're still in the waiting room, you know, there are a couple different scenes in the waiting room, but at some point Shannon's there. You know, she just like she's the one that brought Chris by apparently. Which makes sense because Eddie's like, I missed the whole day with him. And it's also interesting because he didn't know Chris was in visiting Chimney, so it's like there's stuff that he's missing, and also even when Hen is talking about how Chim was babysitting Denny and Eddie like volunteers this information like, I wasn't there for this, so I don't know what is the best way. And it's just like, why are we pointing out so much of the not being here for Chris, if not like some sort of foreshadowing? Honestly, I think it's foreshadowing for Shannon as opposed to like foreshadowing for next season for Eddie, but besides the point. So Shannon brings up that like she remembers what it was like kind of living in the hospital with Christopher's treatments and you know how much Eddie has missed with that. I think it's also to enforce like how nice it is that Shannon is getting to spend some time with Christopher. I think that's mainly the purpose of that. But Eddie also insists that she doesn't have to stay, which is also foreshadowing.
Ow.
Ooh.
I did that. That's
I
my
thought
fault.
you were just like, oh my God.
I didn't even think about it being foreshadowing for not staying. I was just like, he's like, you can go.
Yeah, well,
I think you should go home.
That is initially
Be silent.
why I wanted to point that out. Because it's like, Eddie, why are you always telling people to go home?
He's like, I do not want women around me.
I know.
Please leave.
But I think like I guess in me just thinking out loud here, it also does kind of make sense. Like she doesn't have to stay. And it's like, oh no, that's kind of worse that way. That like the foreshadowing that she's not gonna stay and the time that she's spending with Christopher, but she's also going to be missing so much more of it. Just, oh, that's making my heart hurt. And she's like, no, I'm good here I know she means like with Eddie, with Chris, but also like in the hospital. And then Eddie like has this kind of face that they pan to after she says that, and it's like grateful but not completely relieved, but it's like this weird like untenable situation between the two of them.
To mix his romantic partners with the 118.
It's that it's that compartmentalization. Like it's weird for him. Chris is okay because everybody loves Chris, but I think because he still has like a weird undefined relationship with Shannon, kind of, that it's just like still kind of, I don't know how I feel about this, but I do feel like he recognizes that she's trying to have his back. So like he's letting her for what little time they have left.
4 episodes.
Countdown. And then
you exposing me.
And then speaking of having someone's back, I know we touched a little bit about like the hospital jail chat with Eddie and Buck, but I do also think that it was, I just want to say in here that, you know, Eddie is so quick to console Buck and say, you know, it's not your fault, and kind of like, well, I understand because I would be doing kind of the same thing for my sisters. And it's this kind of, I felt like a little bit of a reversal from the conversation that they had in Merry Xmas with the fountain, where, you know, Buck was there listening for Eddie as Eddie was being very vulnerable. And this is the moment where I think Buck is the most vulnerable with Eddie as well, because meanwhile, like Eddie, in typical Eddie fashion, it seems like he's got everything together. He's, you know, he's keeping his head on straight sort of thing, while Buck is absolutely just kind of like falling apart. And Buck allows himself to lean on Eddie, and Eddie also uses that moment to like have his back and support him, because I don't think he's seen Buck like this at all yet. So it's this every time that we see one of them being vulnerable with the other, and the other like holding space for them, or holding space for the lyrics for Defying Gravity, whatever you want to call it. You see the same in reverse. So in one of the next episodes, you'll see it happen in the other direction as well. And they're just like able to, I'm sorry, like literally they're able to hold space and support each other. And it's just that like very in tandem, like I have your back, you have mine. It's so equalized in that it's just like they know when one of them is just like not able to keep it together, the other one will for them.
Wow, I didn't know they were doing that.
I'll tell you what they're not holding.
Hands, fingers.
Personal space. Yeah, there's a whole bench, my dudes. But like they will literally die if their thighs are not pressed together.
What if he's written mine on my everything?
An entire edit
Check out
just
our,
of them touching thighs together.
check out our Tortured Poets Department specials featuring Down Bad and Guilty as Sin.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just like sitting next. The body language is one of my favorite things with them, because like
it's so unconscious.
It's so, they're just like so
Well, it's kind of, this is another example of them being comforts to, comfort for each other.
Right, comfort.
Yeah. I don't know. So like having someone be so close. I don't know what I'm saying.
I guess I'm looking for like unself-conscious, whatever that is. Like they're not, there's no toxic masculinity here. There is, there's no, this is a weird amount of no space to leave between me and my platonic bro.
Platonic bestie. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just so natural for them. Like since literally the first episode.
And
like even when they were like aggro with each other, they were like up in each other's space.
They're like little magnets.
And then by the end of the episode, we have blurry background Buddy like almost sitting on each other. So like
in the first episode, that quiet comfort that you brought up against Syl, that is them holding space for each other. But they do it so, you know, like equal trade-off. That's what a partnership is.
Which is kind of like, it's kind of just like effortless and unconscious for them. Like they're not thinking about it.
They don't have to try. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to perform. They just, it's how many times can we say like it's them knowing that they have each other's backs, that they can just kind of like let all of those other walls down. You know, not that Buck has a lot of walls up in this episode anyways. He's kind of a mess, but like he's leaning on the people that he knows will like help prop him up. But like, I don't know. I just kept feeling like the way that Eddie was supporting Buck was a little different than how like Athena and Bobby were supporting Buck, because those are very much in like a parental, we're gonna make sure everything is okay.
This is a partner.
Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. God.
Sorry, I'm just rewatching how fucking close they are to each other. That's insane.
They do not leave room for Jesus.
No, they do not.
Would you say that makes them guilty as sin?
Yeah.
I must confess.
So they're like, okay, sorry, I was just reanalyzing this. So like they're
In real time.
they're very close to each other, and like I can't tell because of like the angle, but like they're up in each other's faces, and Buck is like open and like
leaning
angled towards him. It's like that for like most of the chat until we get to the part where he's talking about how he's blaming, like I told her she would be safe, and then he starts moving away,
closing himself
and
off.
then he's fully facing kind of almost the other direction when he's like, she is alone now,
and it's like he's feeling alone because of that as well. But Eddie's there the whole time, and just that it like. But we also see that with like Bobby and Athena too, like they are a true partnership, and kind of, even though they're separated, Maddie and Chimney are kind of true partnership in this way too. It's like we keep getting so many opportunities of paralleling all of these characters that are being paired off, right? And it's like, you know, Bobby and Athena are paired off, Maddie and Chimney are paired off, Buck and Eddie are always paired off. I don't know how many which could mean nothings I have left in me. I have so many. There's many.
What?
There's many that I have left in me. I'll find them.
Maybe we'll get a parallel specifically of this episode where it's the kidnapping, the Madney Buddy parallel, where like they think the other one's dead and find out they're alive.
That would be so dastardly and diabolical, and I absolutely believe that they would pull that, especially if that were to put a wrench in the plans of El Paso. Say like Rocco. El Paso. Hello, Rocco. El Paso. Elmo don't like El Paso.
That was great.
Elmo is not in my repertoire of impressions.
I feel like Elmo has possessed your soul there for a second.
Oh my god!
Just put the fire behind me, like.
Oh man!
I think he did. I think it was taken over.
That was great. That was brava.
Thanks.
Any more gay shit?
Not from me, dog.
I think that covered most of it. I just like talking about how Buck and Eddie are there for each other and hold space, and
absolutely.
I can't. You know what's really sad after that Wicked interview? I can't think of holding space, how we're supposed to think of it anymore. All I see is that whole
like holding the fingers.
The finger.
I'm so glad I'm missing this cultural touchstone.
Oh no. It's so funny to me because like holding space is such a, I don't know if it's because of my background in like the arts and medicine stuff. So I learned a lot of like whole person wellness, healthcare sort of be like holding space in a room with like a patient in a hospital while you're doing art with them sort of thing. So like that's been a usual phrase in my in my language for so many years, and just like
vernacular.
Thank you.
The actual word.
And seeing so many people just being like, what do they mean by holding space? I'm like,
what do you mean? What do they mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
It is what it sounds like.
That's been in my I almost said rotisserie.
What is
back
it
in
with
the turkey
you
building
and poultry tonight?
I don't know. Our outro is, I think I wrote something.
Don't get kicked. Don't get kidnapped. But if you do, take a buddy with you.
Sage advice. Yeah, don't get kidnapped.
Oh yeah, just let me grab my emotional support in kidnapping buddy. Not because I'm trying to escape. Oh no, it's because I need emotional support.
If you're gonna take me, you better take them too.
Maybe that's
and that's how Buck and Maddie get kidnapped together. It's like fine.
Oh my god. It's their chopsticks thing. It's like, who's the big spoon? Who's the little spoon? We're chopsticks because, like, if you separate us, the only thing we're good for is stabbing. Oh, stabbing. We brought it back.
Full circle. Incredible, actually. I do just want to say, though, very, very super briefly, if we say don't get kidnapped, but if you do take a buddy with you, and we do have that Buckley sibling NDE, I just want to hear first on the record.
Profit.
first.
We
December
prophesize.
24th.
We see. We have sight.
If we get that parallel,
Bro,
I will never shut up about it ever.
that's not unusual, but
About that specifically ever.
yeah.
Okay, wait, please.
Remember, don't get kidnapped.
But if you do...
Take a buddy with you.
What was that?
Why did that was like the 10 o'clock news. Take a buddy with you.
No,
Back to you, Jim.
that was Monica with the weather.
Thank you for listening to the Buddy System podcast from start to finish.
We literally cannot shut up about 911, so please come talk to us on your favorite social media platform.
We're at Buddy System Pod everywhere. That's BUDDIE System Pod. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get a personal shout out in the next episode. The Buddy System is a Nerdvergent media production featuring music from Divinity.
Can't get enough of the buddies? Subscribe to our Patreon for access to exclusive content in our Discord community.
Catch you next time, and don't forget,
Bring a buddy with you.